I'm your host, Eric Crow Draven. It's official. Welcome to the Cipher. Welcome. I've been expecting you. I have. To whom it may concern, they say life is about choices. When you want better, you put yourself in a position to do better. You see, I come from a place where those who look like me don't often make it past their 18th birthday alive or without a jail record. Maybe I shouldn't be writing this, but music, the streets, and sports, we look as a way out of our poverty. Dysfunctional families, failing public education system with uninspired teachers and invisible role models. Experience builds character. It is the windows to my past that reminds me of who I was and where I'm from compared to who I am, what I've accomplished. See, at this point, I willingly let you in my house. And those who wish me anything other than success, I wish you well. For those who are looking,
let's take it to the streets. Take it to the streets.
So my first question for you is, what is poetry?
Poetry. Well, poetry means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. To me, poetry is freedom of expression. You know, there's no boundaries, there's no limits, there's no form, there's no fashion. You know, you could just whatever's on your mind and your heart at the moment is what you can spit out on paper to relay whatever's on your mind at the moment, you know, for yourself or to your audience, whoever that may be at the particular moment in time.
Okay. Do you have a favorite topic?
My specialty is love poetry. You know what I'm saying? I got a soft spot for love poetry, so I'm pretty big on that. You know what I mean, for the most part.
That's good. Is there a difference between hip hop and poetry?
Not necessarily. I mean, to me, they're intertwined. You know, hip hop is a style of music, and it is poetry. It's a form of poetry. You know, that's been with us, you know, for years. You know, to go back in the day, back in the late '70s. You know, where it all got started. Boogie Down Bronx. You know, we can't front on that. You know what I mean? But you know, it's not. They're not separate, because hip hop, it is poetry. It's a form of poetry. You know, set to music. So you can't separate one from the other.
Okay. What myths have you heard about poetry? The biggest and most obvious one would be that poetry has to rhyme, which is not true. You know, there's no one style, there's no one format, there's no one anything. It's flexible, it's universal. You know, there's no limitations to how you can flow. It could be short poems, long poems, you know, in middle of the road poems, you know, whatever suits the person that's writing it. Is there something that you dislike about poetry?
Honestly, to me, there's really nothing to not like about it. I mean, it's a form of expression. You know, it's an outlet. You know, it's a stress reliever. You know, it's tailored to the individual. So it's really, for me, it's really nothing that I don't like about it.
If you had the opportunity to speak to the next generation coming up, what would you say to them?
Well, as far as flowing in the poetry vein, you know, be yourself. Look to the pioneer poets that came up before you. You know, do your poetic history. You know, research Langston Hughes, Maya Angelou, Sonia Sanchez, Rita Dove. You know, go to the library and research other poets and study their styles, but don't try and copy their style down to the letter. You know, find your voice within those writers, but then carve your own voice. You know, don't try to be a carbon copy of someone else. You know, find your own unique style, and then work it out, mature it. You know, put it into practice until you find your own voice.
Is there something more that you would like to see come out of poetry? Like, is there something bigger you would like to see happen with poetry, or something bigger you would like poetry to be the venue, to basically push something forward?
Well, I think unity is a big thing. There's not as much unity among poets as there should be. There's a lot of competition. And it's really no need for that, because we have the power to come together in a creative vein to speak on issues that are affecting all of us right now. The current events, politics, racism, lack of jobs, homelessness, disease, all of these everyday issues that we encounter on a daily basis. Poetry can be used as a tool to speak to those issues, to speak to those things affecting our communities, to speak to those things that, that most people might not think are important, but they're important to you, they're important to me.
Right.
So it's crucial that, we find that we use this creative tool as something positive that can be a voice to this generation as a platform for the one that's coming up behind us.
Nice. I think my last question will be more or less it's a play on words. So I'm going to say a few words, and I want you to say the first word that comes to mind. Love.
Desire.
Poverty.
Hope.
Youth.
Energy.
Struggle.
Hardship.
Sex.
Got me stumped on that one. Life cycle.
Intelligence.
Educated.
And you. Y-O-U.
Y-O-U. Pioneer.
Excellent. Appreciate your time, brother.
No problem.
Welcome.
Freedom of expression is the peace I hold dear like my heart in my hand, making me feel alive. And my words are my babies that have not been artificially inseminated, so I naturally birth faith and alive through this puss I call lips. Continue to speak to the commonwealth of men's and women's souls with my conscious poetic symphonies of true tales, because the truth never fails when it brings prolific change, as these words escape my chamber of change and tool of thought. The restlessness of fighting on a daily basis. Faces of common man live by death, and their pride is young tongues of hopes and karmic redemption to the masses. And I've seen so much crime and heartache that my eyes have blisters. Speak the truth and Jeremy shock thee back to reality to keep them from being free and dumb. So spit, poet. Spit till your words become ancient seas that would make Moses come back from the dead and use the part ghetto minds of stereotype curses. Cause I spit so that the chains of pain of ancestors past and shackles of failure no longer hold down my youth. And spit with my head held high till nightmares die, my mouth gets dry, and God no longer has to cry over his children with rainstorms of sorrow. So I ask you, will you spit or swallow? To me, swallowing and be killing my lyrical liberation, silencing the social litigation that would uncrucify my birth Babylon I call Brooklyn. The measure of my Atlantic will is long and hard that goes for yards. Now spit to the walls my mouth and tongue are dried on the sands of time's last grain, and the corridors of my soul reach kingdom come. Now is the time with reason and a rhyme. You won't let your soul become another chalk outline at Lucifer's feet. Use the mystical powers of this blessed tool to unlock the treasure chest with our hearts. Launch lethal loogies to fill these empty buckets of character common man has lost. At times I've hit roadblocks more cold than the words by Robert Frost on this journey. I turn to revolutionary poet inside me, beside thee, to save the suicide landmines of your dying breed. Using these words that may become royalty to crown the heights of mine and your current and future seeds of change that's gonna come. Ratifying life's legislation to create the nationwide hood declaration of independence my brothers and sisters can live by. So I ask you again, will you spit or swallow? If you swallow, that means you'd rather choke on the meat of old slave masters, welcome social disasters, and encourage more bloody Sundays a month of the menstrual cycle. I do this for this young sister on the Brooklyn Franklin Avenue station bench with her face in hands because he's going through it right now. And the powers of true tongues will extinguish her pain, also hoping life stains dirty in her soul can be removed forever.
October 25th, 2005, I walk into an elementary school and the kids look at me as if I'm their teacher. 5'7", 207 pounds with about 27 tattoos. I tell each kid in the classroom to please take out a clean sheet of paper and something to write with because I have an assignment for them to do. I need them to tell me what they aspire to be when they become older. All the kids at the same time suck their teeth. Come on, man. Not again. I tell the kids to please settle down, funky children. All the kids in the classroom suck their teeth at the same time. The other thing that they hate about Mr. John is when I have assignments for them to do. The other thing they hate is the fact that they have to wear these blue shirts because it's part of their uniform. I tell each kid in the class to take out a clean sheet of paper and something to write with. I need them to tell me what they aspire to be when they become older. And all the kids look at me. One girl stands up and says, "Mister, I thought you already told us to do this." I said, "I did, but I lost the paper, so I need you to do it all over again." So for 15 minutes, each kid in the classroom puts his head down and starts to write about what they aspire to be when they become older. I grab 3 kids at random and bring them into my office. The first kid, John C., the Dominican kid, and from what I can see, he was probably the only Dominican kid in Harlem. And I say, "John C., please tell me what you aspire to be. Please tell me what you aspire to be when you become older." John C. looks at me and says, "Oh yeah, check it out. I don't finish what you wanted me to do, but I can tell you what I want to be." And I say, "Cool. Please tell me what you aspire to be when you become older." John C. looks at me and says, "Check it out, Mr. Jung. When I become older, I want to play baseball." And I say, "John C., you're Dominican. Chances are you're going to play baseball anyway." He says, "No, Mr. John C., I don't think you understand. See, I want to play pelota. And I don't care if it's in front of a lot of bit of people or a little bit of people." And I say, "John C., a lot of bit of people?" He says, yes, Mr. John C., I want to play pelota because me and my father used to play pelota back in DR. But ever since he got his leg blown off, it's kind of hard for us to play catch. So I want to play pelota in front of a little bit of people or a lot of bit of people so my father could sit in the stands and say, 'Hey, that's my boy. It's an enemy.'" And I say, "Cool. But whatever you do, keep your head in these books and stay in school so no one plays you for a fool. And on top of that, nobody takes your money from you." And he looks at me and says, "Tato," which to me, that really doesn't mean anything in Dominican. He walks out. The next child that walks in, Jaffo, African kid. He's always cool, calm, collected the way his parents have always taught him to be. And I say, "Jaffo, how are you?" And he looks at me and he says, "Good afternoon." I say, "Jaffo, please tell me what you aspire to be when you become older." He says, "Mr. John, when I become older, I want to be a writer." I said, "What kind of writer do you want to be?" He says, "I want to write books." I said, "What kind of books you want to write?" He says, "I want to write books to teach African American parents how to treat African kids who come to America. Because ever since I've been to America, my mother tells me to be less African and be more American, and I tell her I don't know how to be less African and be more American because I don't know what being African is. Please explain to me the colors of my flag. Explain to me Ramadan. Explain to me why I have to starve myself for 30 days. Please explain to me why I'm the only 5th grader who's 10 years old in the 5th grade who can't wear deodorant and has to wear these natural oils." And I say, "Jaffo, chill. Maybe you need some anger management class." He says, No, Mr. John. You see, I know that I can't change the world, but I know that if I can change the mind of a few people who can help me change the world, then I've done my job." And I say, "Cool." As he walks out the room and says, "Good afternoon." The next child that walks in, Nevaeh. "Mr. John, my name is Nevaeh. Heaven spelled backwards with a capital N, and please don't you get it twisted." I say, "Okay, Nevaeh, please tell me what you want to be when you become older." Nevaeh looks at me and says, "I don't think I can tell you what I want to be when I become older, because what I want to be when I be what you want me to be when I become older, okay?" I say, "Nevaeh, if you don't slow your little sassy ass down." She says, "I don't think I can tell you what I want to be because what I want to be may not be what you want me to be." And I say, "Okay, test me." And she looks at me. Mahogany brown complexion, oval shaped eyes, 10 years old, 5th grade, and tells me that she wants to become a stripper. So being the adult in the room, and because I can't discourage any of my kids from any of their dreams, I ask her, "Well, what kind of stripper you want to be?" Then I slap myself in the forehead because I can't believe I'm about to have a conversation with a 10-year-old or what kind of stripper they can possibly be. So I tell her, "Maybe you want to be the kind of stripper that slides down poles, takes off her clothes, and gets touched by various men." She says, "Ew, Mr. John, do you know how many women slide down those poles?" And I say, "No, I don't. I really don't." I said, "Well, maybe you want to be the kind of dancer like them girls in the videos that get champagne poured all over their head." She said, "Mr. John, I don't know if you know this right, but I'm a black girl. You know how long it's gonna take for my hair to get done after it's been wet?" I said, "Bet. Maybe that's not a good idea. Well, maybe you want to be like Jermaine Dupri and Janet Jackson in that video where Jermaine Dupri takes out his credit card, puts it into the wall. The credit card comes back out, the screen goes up. Janet Jackson is dancing behind that screen. She doesn't take off her clothes. She doesn't get touched by any men, and it looks like she makes some pretty good money." She says, "It sounds like a good idea." Then I slap myself in the forehead again because I can't believe I just agreed with a 10-year-old or what kind of stripper they could possibly be. So I know there's more to the story, so I ask her again, "Nevaeh, please tell me why you want to become a stripper." She says, "Mr. John, I want to become a stripper because I can make more money in 2 business days than some of these business bitches can make in 2 weeks. Pardon the way that I speak. I want to be able to help my grandmother and my mother put more food on the table, send my siblings to better schools. I want to be able to go to school That's a pretty girl in school. The girl with the nice hair in school, the girl with the clean clothes in school. I'm tired of being the girl with the hand-me-down clothes that I'm given by my cousins every time I go to school. The ones with the holes in it. I want to be the pretty girl. I want everybody to look at me down the hallway and say, there goes Nevaeh again. That pretty girl who always comes to school. And I say, Nevaeh, please tell me why you want to become a stripper. And she looks at me, mahogany brown complexion, oval-shaped eyes, 10 years old, in the 5th grade, and tells me that the only reason she wants to become a stripper is because maybe if she were a stripper, and her father would come see her more often.
Crazy.
Fortified by their minerals, supported by the 4 elements of ass, cash, liquor, and weed, not vitamins. Heavy on the weight, cutting up their weight, loading up pounds to acquire more weight, just to float in the shallow waters. My cousins stand on and in between corners, often in semicircles, at best in semicircles. Never a full, never a whole. These fools want to stay on the block. Situated and focused on their situations, they make major moves based on minor words. The niggas are hard, and hard is like Smurf. It can render, it can rhyme, it can replace words. Stupid, foolish, what the hell are you thinking? And of course, prison or death. My cousins are trying to marry the outside voice with their inside voice, and the inside voice is so strong and so powerful, it echoes off bars, bounces off concrete walls and floors, moves through the yard like hurricane wind, turning t-shirts white, pulling pants off their ass, ruining their names, eradicating their names, turning their names into numbers so long, so large that now they don't even count. I tried to explain to them, and they try to tell me they are masters of their situations, kings of their castles, but masters and chiefs are not told when to wake up and go to sleep when they wash that ass or brush your teeth. Kings go to jail for consciousness, not stupidness. I try to give them more knowledge. They try to give me more know-how, but nothing really changes. They don't get to see how the world sees them. They are just simple cogs in a wheel going from block to block, going from block to block.
Today, I come before you, a product of my past, outliving many of my failures and my elders. Let today be the testimony of persistence and faith. Let today prepare me for tomorrow.
So my first question to you is, what is poetry?
What is poetry? I'm going to talk about poetry from an African tradition, meaning that African art is never just art for art's sake. And what we know as poetry comes out of the griot tradition. And there are various aspects to the griot tradition. There's one of the griot being a musician and a historian. A griot was also a newscaster. He was a political commentator. He, alone with the Queen Mother, had the right to censure the king without reprisals or what's the word I'm looking for? Reprisals or any kind of anything coming back on him. But he was also a poet, and poetry has a purpose, and that is to talk about different things in life from various perspectives so people get to hear it. So poetry is more than self-expression. There's more to it than that, because we all have self-expression of some kind. But poetry is an art form which is a reflection of different aspects of our life, whether we're talking about politics, whether we're talking about love, whether we're talking about spirituality, whether we're talking about good character, whether we're talking about grandma's Sunday morning breakfast, you know, and the place that it had in our heart. It's a reflection of what's going on in our life and our culture.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. This is a 3-part question.
Okay.
What does happy look like, feel like, and taste like?
I can't describe what happy looks like, but you know it when you see it, because it comes out of the soul, and happy carries light with it. You know, it carries imperceptible beauty with it. It carries, and beauty isn't necessarily something that fits together aesthetically in front of your eyes. It's intangible. You said, what does it look like? What is it?
What does it look like? What does it feel like? And what does it taste like?
Well, happiness feels like oneness with divinity. That's the only way you can describe it. If you're one with the divine, then you're happy. When you're not one with the divine, that's when you have problems. That's when you're out of balance. That's when you have sadness or mental illness. When you're happy, you're one with divinity.
And what does it taste like?
Water. There's no life without it.
Wow. Wow, excellent. Excellent. If your life was a reality show, what would people see and what would be the title of the show?
I hate reality shows.
Nice.
I hate reality shows. I have no idea what it would be called. What would they see? They would see me in my day life. I'm an Oshun priest. They'd see me get up in the morning and do prayers. They'd see me get up in the morning and pray for my family and my neighborhood and my community, and then go about doing that. The reality show would never make it on TV because to them it would probably be very boring. You know, I really hate reality shows. I don't think they're reality. You know, what we're seeing on television is not reality. It's something carefully crafted for the camera with drama, which really isn't reality. Most people, their lives every single day, nobody would really be interested in because it's exactly what you're doing every day.
No doubt. No doubt. I love this. You got me cheesing extremely hard over here. What impact did the presence or absence of your father have on your journey?
Wow. Okay, so I was really fortunate. I had 2 fathers and a grandfather. My mother and father were always married when I was long, but they were ill. So my grandmother took me to my mother's sister's house, my aunt's house, and her husband. And I also called them mommy and daddy. So I had 2 fathers, and I had 2 very, very different kinds of fathers. So my father was a disabled war veteran, and he was ill most of the time, but he was always doing something, always learning something, always trying to educate himself, you know, and constantly seeking information about what was going on, and then sitting there and thinking about it. We'd have long political and social discussions. You know, that was one father. My other father was a judge. He was the first black circuit court judge in the state of Missouri.
Wow.
And he had a heavy political effect on me too, but also effect on how he dealt with his family in a very different way than my own father did. My own father gathered his children around him and ruled you with a iron fist, which was okay. But my other father, who was a judge, made us see that our family wasn't just our family, not the people in the house, that we belonged to the community. We had an obligation to the community, and we had an obligation to live a certain way and act a certain way. You know, it was that old-fashioned, you have to be a credit not only to your family, but to your community and race. So they both, shaped a very different part of me, and in the course of that, I've always looked for and had relationships with and been married to men who were very socially conscious and in many ways politically active. It's very important.
Wow. Excellent. They say that movies give insight to the way a person perceives the world and themselves. With that being said, what is your favorite movie and why?
I don't have a favorite. I have a lot of favorites for different reasons. I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and I like Star Trek because it tells moral stories, and their moral is plays about how the way people should behave and the height that they should aspire to, told within a science fiction framework. I love The Matrix. For clear reasons, because it told us what kind of world we're really living in. It's a metaphor for how we really live now. I like this silly little movie called Don Juan to Marco because it really talks about love and what love really is. And we don't care about love anymore. We care about lust, we care about what they sell us on TV and the essence of fairy tale, but we don't care about love. And that movie really, really talks about love. I like Amistad because Amistad shows us fighting and not giving up for our freedom, and we rarely had that image of enslaved Africans as being empowered and really fighting for their freedom. I liked Sankofa for the same reason. So there are a lot of different movies I like. They're little independent films, that I like. There's not just one that, it had such a huge impact on my life.
Gotcha. I'm going to ask this last question of you. We wear many different hats in our lives. What hat do you wear has been the most rewarding thus far?
Motherhood. I have 2 children, a son and a daughter, and they've just made me, first of all, they made me grow incredibly. They've also made me incredibly proud, and they've also let me know that it's not being a perfect parent at the perfect time, but planting the right seed at the right time. Because when you plant the seed, it may not grow in the first 5 years or 10 years or even 20 years that the seed grows. you know, and it gives reward. There's nothing more rewarding than motherhood. And it's motherhood that helped me be a better Oshun priestess. It's motherhood that helped me be a better person in the community. Because then, just like my father taught me, my motherhood isn't confined to the family. My motherhood spreads out from the family. So I have several other young people, and sometimes even people my age that I am mother to. So motherhood is always the most rewarding place to me, always.
Excellent. I appreciate your time, sister.
Oh, thank you.
My yesterdays has given me hope for today. I see you in the future. My last rites. I'ma do something y'all ain't never heard me do. It's Crow. What else would you expect, baby?